Let's get into business straight away. Armed police officers manning the Lekki Tollgate Plaza yesterday arrested dozens of #Occupy Lekki Tollgate protesters, including comedian Debo Adebayo, popularly known as Mr. Macaroni, for posing a threat to law and order in the state. The comedian, alongside other protesters, were seen in the most dehumanizing conditions, shirtless and cramped in a bus, with voices of what is believed to be voices of policemen heard mocking them in the background. Others who were picked up at the toll gate claimed they were wrongfully arrested as they were not protesters.
Nobody's a big man. Nobody's a big man, officer. Nobody's a big man. No one is a big man. That's the mistake you make.
I'm being a slave. I'm being a slave abroad.
That is the reason why we are here.
I'm being a slave abroad than being a slave in my own motherland. My ID card is my phone. Yes, I'm a contractor.
Just come out of that phase 1 gate and get it. That was all I did.
It's never a crime.
I'm working in that and I came out to get a food, and the policeman was just right behind me.
I don't know.
Following the orders of the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, the arrested protesters were released on a 100,000 naira bail, with sureties in like sum, but not before a member of the NSAS panel and human rights lawyer, Ebunolu Adegboru, had threatened to quit the panel over the arrests. The senior advocate of Nigeria said he is saddened, and I'm quoting him, by the dehumanization of the protesters by security operatives, and could not continue to sit at the panel when fresh assaults were being perpetrated with impunity. Joining us now to speak on this is former Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association and activist Monday Ubani. Monday Ubani, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Doctor, thank you for having me.
Let's start from this. I mean, few days before the Lekki Tollgate protest, the Commissioner of Lagos, the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Akim Odumusu, said that no protest will be allowed. And then we had that drama that we had yesterday in the city of Lagos, particularly at the Lekki Tollgate. But an aide to the president, Loretta Onoche, who is one of President Buhari's special assistants, has praised the Nigerian police force for handling the situation very well, for being professional, for acting in a very commendable manner. And this is all over Twitter. Do you agree that the Nigeria police force, as led by CP Akim Odumusu, yesterday handled the situation in Lagos very well, and that the conduct was professional and commendable?
Once again, thank you for having me. I think the place for us to start is the account of those who were arrested yesterday. One manner of treatment were meted out to them. Were they properly handled in such a professional manner to actually confirm what the special assistant to the president on social media, that is Onoche, said? Is it true? Because from the accounts I have read so far, especially from this young man called Macaroni, I think they were clearly dehumanized. I saw him shirtless, and according to his video that I watched this afternoon, I learned that he was manhandled while in detention. Maybe from tomorrow we begin to get proper account of some of the people that were arrested, whether they were handled in such a professional manner, to agree with the assertion of the special advisor. But to me, I want to say this. It's important we reiterate the fact that protest that is peaceful under democracy is allowed. It is a constitutional requirement. We do not require the permission of the Commissioner of Police or the IG of the Federation for any person in this country to really protest. It has been settled by the courts over time, so that I want that to be understood by all. Now, as long as that protest is peaceful and within the ambit of the law, there is nothing that makes it unlawful, unconstitutional, or we do not require police to tell us when Nigerians will rise up to say, look, we don't probably like this government policy. We may never We may never, and it's a prayer point that we don't get to that level where Nigerian police will determine time and timeline for Nigerians to wake up and say, oh, today I do not agree, and then I have to get the permission of Nigerian police before I do all that. But what we insist is that those who are protesting must respect the right of others too, because where your right starts is where, where your own stops is where other people's right starts. So you must not in any way do it in a manner that goes contrary to the law. You must not violate other people's right, all in a manner to probably, pursue your own right. That is what we insist. But as long as it is done peacefully, there is nowhere in the world under democracy where protest is illegal, illegitimate, and that you must seek the permission of the police before you go on protest. No, it is not. And we should not allow that to develop as a culture here in Nigeria.
But the Lagos State Police Command made it clear before February 13, namely yesterday, that they had intelligence that certain persons were trying to sabotage public order, and that there were forces of darkness. They were determined to occupy that Lekki toll gate. Hence, by the evening of February 12, we already saw the police occupying the place ahead of the time. Now, can't the police say, well, based on intelligence, we will not allow anybody to gather, whatever the nature of the protest, considering the fact, again, that there were two groups. There was the Occupy Lekki toll gate group and the Defend Lagos group.
Doctor, very intelligent question. I think the proper procedure in any time police receive such an intelligent report of probably possible anarchy is to provide security. That is the work of Nigerian police. I mean, that is the work of police anywhere in the world. If people want to protest and it's legitimate and it's peaceful, and you now get an information or intelligence report that these people may likely, descend into anarchy, what you do is to ensure that the security men will be there to ensure protection of lives and properties and ensure that people do not, make the particular protest to degenerate into anarchy. That is what they are there to do. But what we saw yesterday wasn't actually what happened. Even people that were passers-by, I understand that even a British BBC reporter was even arrested and some of their phones seized. There were those that were just trying to, pursue their legitimate means of income. We are also arrested, even in that angle. So it then means that they are saying that you cannot in any way protest at all. That is what we are against. The police, what they normally do and what they should do, if there is any announcement of any protest by any aggrieved citizen, is for them to provide security for lives, to protect lives and properties, and not for them to say, I will deal with you. And of course, we saw how some of them were dealt with yesterday. So that is my take. And it's an intelligent question. Do we need police? Yes. If they get an intelligent report that this is what will happen, thereafter, or in the course of any protest, they have a right to mobilize their men in order to secure lives. And I have seen them abroad. When people are protesting, they end up being friendly with those people who are protesting legitimately, but not for them to begin to clamp them down, dehumanize them, remove shirts from them and begin to beat them. That is actually not what they are sent to do.
Well, today, the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, Hakeem Odumosu, issued a statement condemning unprofessional conduct that was alleged yesterday. And he said he had directed the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department at Panti to look into the video, some of which we have shown on this program, to check out those videos and then establish if indeed certain officers were, guilty of unprofessional conduct, and to ensure that such officers are brought to book. Do you think that that's enough consolation or a good indication that the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, is trying to act in good faith?
Well, until I see a positive reaction by whom that particular directive is made, and then punishment meted out to any of the erring officers, but to me, it's a cheering news. I also understand that yesterday he ordered that those who were arrested should be released, even though they were eventually taken to court. So it wasn't at his instance that those people were released. It was court that actually granted them bail. The piece of news you just shared now to me is clearly cheering news, and I wish the DC, who is in charge of Panti, will look into the complaint and watch those videos. I mean, a situation where some people they remove their shirts. What is all that for? A situation where people were clubbed, were beaten with beatings and all that. What is that for? And these are people who had no arms, you know, they were not, you know, no cutlasses, no, what was all that beaten for? So if it is established that these guys were manhandled, it is important that we begin to see punishment. You know, remember that the panel in the first place was set up because of police brutalization. And I think by now we should have learned this lesson that we must begin to respect Nigerians' right. It is a constitutional issue. If anyone is alleged to have committed a crime, you must handle that person with all understandings of the ambit of the law and how you should handle that and treat him well, and then profile the charge and take the person to court. It does not lie in you as a person to, one, manhandle, beat, and then in order to extract confessional statement, you use unorthodox method. Sometimes they use pain, and some of these things they were, you know, they use, you know, allegedly, in order to extract confessional statement. And also we have discovered a situation where the security agencies in Nigeria derive pleasure, my brother, in putting people in an indefinite detention without any trial. Somebody is alleged to have committed a crime. You are supposed to finish your investigation and within the time allowed by the Constitution, charge that individual to court. We have a situation where, you know, people have been kept in police detention for 5 days, 6 days. I have a particular client now who has been a lawyer, a British citizen who has been in detention for the past 4 days. What is his crime? Oh, that he involved people in naval, you know, in land matter and all that. If it's a crime, charge him to court or release him on administrative bail. But keeping people in an indefinite detention when the matter has not gone to court and the court has not made any pronouncement that this person is guilty, it's clearly illegal.
Well, Monday Ubani, on that note, let's take a short break here on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. When we return, the conversation will continue. Monday Ubani is still here with us in the studio. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still Monday Ubani, Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association, a lawyer, former, yes, thank you for that correction, an activist and also a lawyer. Well, before we went on break, it's good you brought up the issue of the magistrate court. Yes, the 40 of the protesters were taken to the magistrate court in Yaba. And they were charged on 3 grounds. First, the violation of the Quarantine Act, Section 5 thereof. Then, breach of public peace, Section 216 of the Criminal Laws of Lagos State 2015, under which they said they were promoting the breakdown of law and order. And then Section 168, in which they were accused of causing public harassment and creating confusion and intimidating people and unnecessarily generating public anxiety. So those are the 3 grounds, but the court granted them bail in the sum of 100,000 naira, like sum for the sureties. But what bothers me there is that reference to violation of the COVID-19 regulation.
That's right.
Because the policemen themselves did not seem to have observed COVID-19 guidelines. What do you say about this? And how strong, how weighty are the grounds, the charges against these protesters?
My thinking is that it's like those charges were prepared before the actual scene of the incident. They were prepared overnight. And, you know, because if you look at it, only all the charges, you know, none of them, you know, is clearly sustainable from what we saw in the video. You know, the Quarantine Act, you know, the protocol say you must not allow the gathering of over 50%. If you saw that video, people were trickling in, you know, in smaller numbers, and as they are coming in, they were being arrested. In fact, at a point, people willingly, you know, gave up themselves to be arrested and taken to this. I didn't see a situation where we have large gathering that will now amount to breach of any of the protocols, you know. And then the issue of breach of public peace, I didn't see any of them, you know, causing mayhem or chaos, you know, in their gathering. They were peaceful, you know. So as I said earlier, it's like this since we are prepared, you know, they prepared it in the night, you know, waiting, believing that there's going to be some level of commotion. So they would just carry all of them and probably, you know, they are not going to sustain those charges. And that's why I must also commend the magistrate that presided over that did not make the bail condition to be very stringent. Most times they make it so stringent that it becomes very practically impossible for you to get bail, fulfill the bail condition, and then the next thing that they take you to other Ikoyi or the other prison. You know, so, but what happened yesterday again is commendable. I must say that government also, they're trying to learn a little bit of lesson that we must begin to respect people's right. If somebody is alleged to have committed a crime, the best thing you do, timelessly charge that person to court and give that person an opportunity for him to have his day in court, which is what happened yesterday. They didn't even detain them, 4 days, 5 days before they gave them up to the court so that the court can handle it. So to me, that is clearly commendable. I appreciate that. And we must continue this way. And we must begin to also make our conditions of bail to be very, very, friendly in such a manner that a surety that should produce that accused person before the court is known. That is what the law requires, not making it so stringent as if the person has been convicted by the court. That is the wrong procedure.
No, but you must recall
Yes.
that in a now famous viral video, Debo Adebayo, the man we all know as Mr. Macaroni,
That's right.
Made a point that some of the policemen were threatening that, in fact, the only reason they got treated a bit lightly was because the public was already aware of their arrest, that otherwise they could have been shot and killed. Could it be that was also prompted Magistrate Layeni to be lenient?
Yes. No, the magistrates, they are learned. I understand most of them are, it's not, these people who are not, lawyers in the first place. For you to be a magistrate, you must be a lawyer. You must pass through the rudiments of knowledge of what constitutional rights, and people's rights are. And so I really appreciate that magistrate. But for what the allegation of Adebayo, it has happened several times. I am a lawyer for many years now, and I have been involved with Nigerian police. I see a situation where you go to the police stations and you hear cries and beatings going on in the police cell. People are being, thoroughly flogged, sometimes to extract confessional statement, which is why I have been advocating this issue, that we must make our investigation to be a bit more scientific. You don't arrest somebody without any evidence, and you now want to extract that evidence, by using unorthodox method, beating them up, using pin on their penis and all that. That has been, things people have been alleged.
Mind your language.
Yes. Okay, fine. Using on their private part. I agree with you. So I'm very sorry about that. But the point is this: we must apply scientific method in gathering, evidence. We see it happen in other advanced societies when, before police move in to arrest an accused person, they would have concluded an investigation. They have gathered all the material evidence that they require, to present before the court, before they move in. So when they arrest you, within a short possible time, you are charged to court. But here, you are arrested and you now begin to look for evidence. And that is why they now begin to use all those methods in order to extract confessional statements. So we said, may we begin to apply science and technology in gathering evidence. What happened yesterday? We saw all those video guys, all those cameras, the newsmen and women with all their cameras. I thank God that we begin to use these things, in order to, help the police in their investigation, so that people cannot in any way go out of their way to do things that are clearly illegal, like killing, extrajudicial killing that was alleged, that somebody was being told, that would have wasted your life and all that. But people are watching us. So we must begin to use science and technology in gathering evidence and make this country to be, we have the best in this nation. Dr. Ruben, this is a country that God has blessed with everything on earth. And we're still behaving as we were in the 18th century. You arrest somebody, you don't have any solid evidence you have against that individual. And you now begin to use methods that are clearly a cake in order to extract confessional statement and nail that individual. Whereas you would have done your job, clearly well. So I love what happened. Those journalists, they videoed everything so that they will help Nigerian police even in knowing whether there was abuse. The CPU said has instructed the DC. So all those videos that were taken by journalists, they should provide it to the DC, so that he can be able to know those that actually brutalized some of those who were arrested. It's important.
Okay, I would like you to comment on what has led to all of this. The catalyst for all of this was the split decision of the Lagos State Panel of Inquiry on police brutality and restitution, led by Justice Doris Okuobi, to answer the prayer, to respond to the prayer of the Lekki Concession Company to reopen that toll gate, which had been more or less in comatose since the incident of October 2020. And of course, the panel was divided, 5-4. And then the protesters said, look, justice has not yet been done. And that the decision of the panel of inquiry, the majority decision, was premature and prejudicial to the substantive issues involved in the matter. So do you think that the panel erred in arriving at that decision? And now that we see that it's a minority decision that is favored by the public, what are your thoughts on this?
Let's start from the beginning. The panel was set up in order to address the issue of police brutality, especially over time, Nigerians have been complaining of what Nigerian police agents have been doing to Nigerian citizens, and nobody has actually addressed it. That led to the NSAS protest. Now, in the course of that protest, we now had the incident of shooting that took place at the toll gate on 20th of October 2020. That actually raised uproar all over the country. The entire world was even aware of this, and they all showed solidarity. Now, the next thing that Lagos State government did, which is clearly commendable, that was followed by all other states, was setting up the panel to address the issue of brutality. And in the course of that, setting up the panel, they now added the issue of toll gate. Toll gate, incident that happened, became part of the terms of reference. Yes.
Well, with that background,
yes.
Monday Ubani,
yes.
Let's take another quick commercial break. When we return, we'll focus more on whether or not the Okuobi panel arrived at its decision in error, in Korea. We'll take another short break here on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. When we return, the conversation will continue. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show here on the Arise News Channel. We're still with our guest for today, former Vice President of the Nigerian Bar Association, lawyer, activist, Monday Ubani. Monday Ubani, before we went on that break, you were commenting on the decision of the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry that led to the protest at the Lekki toll gate yesterday.
That's correct.
Did that panel make a mistake?
I said by virtue of the law that set up that panel, their findings and report must go to the governor, who does the implementation. I didn't see any provision in that particular law that gives the panel the power to directly deal with parties making recommendations. And so, to me, that panel's recommendation that they should, the toll gate should be given back to LCC is clearly premature. There are so many other petitions I understand that is still pending against the toll gate. And I don't think the panel has actually concluded the findings on what took place on 20th. Unless we're undermining what took place on 20th of October 2020. What took place was clearly grave, that attracted the attention of the entire world. And there are this issue of back and forth argument as to whether lives were lost. We have had evidence and witnesses coming to give evidence as to whether lives were lost and lives were not lost. I don't think that the panel has made any findings as to what took place at the toll gate. And now the next thing we're hearing is that, give back the toll gate to the owners, let them go and start their business and all that. So that is clearly a triumph of economy over life. It means that we don't value life anymore. It don't mean that we didn't actually recognize that what took place on 20th of October was a very grave incident that needs a proper finding by the panel. And I think that the panel must make that finding known, to the governor, who will actually implement whatever the findings and reports are. So asking the parties now go back to your business and all that, of course, that actually, made some people to be angry and felt that, look, this is clearly wrong. Already, there was this doubt as to the, how genuine the panel is. And some of us have written and said, look, that panel is clearly legal, it's legitimate, and we should give these panels the opportunity for them to make their recommendations, and that they are going to assuage. They will assuage the feelings of those who are hurt and aggrieved. But by things like this, it gives room for those who have been very suspicious all along that, we told you guys that these things, are all arranged. Nothing will come out of it. I don't want a situation where people will begin to have, doubt and lose confidence on the genuineness of this panel that have been set all over the country. So my take is that we should have tarried a while, and allow the findings of that panel to actually be concluded before, you begin to make recommendation. And as I said earlier, you don't deal with the parties directly by making a recommendation to any of the parties and say, go and take over. No. Any recommendation must go through the governor. That is what the law that set up that panel says. Then who does the implementation? So to me, It's clearly hasty, and we should look at it again without any sentiment. I see a lot of sentiment all over the social media. Oh, people want to go and cause mayhem and destroy Lagos again and all that. No, I don't think that it is. People have a right to say, look, things are not done that way. Let's begin to do things rightly. You know, me as a lawyer, I would like to go on appeal concerning that. I would not want to probably protest, but the world is evolving. We're in a new order. People now protest court judgment. It happened with the Supreme Court judgment in Imo State, where people protested. Because it didn't happen in the 18th century, it doesn't mean that it won't happen in this particular 21st century.
Do you think the integrity of the Okuobi panel has been compromised, considering the fact that at least one civil society representative on that panel has announced a resignation? That's Rino Oduola. And also, Ebunlu Adegboruwa issued a statement yesterday, Adegboruwa SAN, saying that given what happened yesterday, he's consulting with people and that it's possible that he too may withdraw from that panel. Panel of 9, and if you have 2 people withdrawing, what are we left with?
It's clearly scary, because these members have sat throughout to take evidence of some other persons that has nothing to do with Tollgate. I mean, in terms of police brutality. Now you begin to withdraw membership. Then that means that you bring in new, fresh members. Would they go and take evidence of all those evidence that have been taken before? They have to start de novo. That's why I would rather ask the members not to be hasty in withdrawing their membership, because the implication is grave. Are we going to start afresh with the new members now that may be nominated to take over their position? That is clearly this. And so I would rather advise that they do not in any way withdraw. For the fact that certain things are done and is not in consonance with your own thinking does not mean that you now have to, remove your head. You need to be a bit cool and be calculated, and take a positive action, what you should do in the circumstance, not hasty withdrawal. That to me shows is a young person and is a youthful exuberance. You should, tarry a while and see the outcome of the entire thing. Let me tell you, what happened, it was 4-4. They did a vote, before they came out openly. It was 4-4, but the judge, the presiding judge, has a casting vote. So she did it in favor of the other. Now, what happened is that they should have also been given opportunity for the dissenting voice to be heard, because you have majority decision. Fine, the dissenting opinion also must be heard.
Yeah, but the dissenters issued a statement signed by Ebunlu Adegboruwa on that occasion. Yes. And they also addressed the press.
Yes, but what happened was
did they join with the
beautiful
others, which is the tradition?
Yes.
So was it that Ebunlu Adegboruwa and the 3 others became protesters?
Yes. No, they shouldn't have done that.
Without following the
normal procedure. The normal procedure is that even after you have taken the vote, behind, and you are coming out, with majority opinion and dissenting opinion, all of you will come out at the same time. After reading the majority decision, then the dissenting opinion also must be allowed. But I didn't see it happen, because it's like the majority people came in and gave their own, and then walked away. Then the dissenters now came in. That is clearly on procedure. I mean, the procedure was clearly wrong. That is not how we see it, whether in panel or normal court.
The court of appeal.
All of them supposed to have come out at the same time. Give your majority decision. Allow the dissenting view also to be heard. But understand that the majority people say they don't want any dissenting opinion. That is an allegation. But I don't think it is proper. They should have followed the procedure. So my opinion and my advice at this juncture is that they should not be hasty in withdrawing their membership. Because if they do, it then means that they have to start all over again. And that again will put all the evidence, all the witnesses, all the lawyers' work, all this while into jeopardy. And that again cannot be the clear intention of those of them that are withdrawing their membership. They don't want to put us into hardship. I thought by now we would have made some level of progress, but until this problem cropped up. And as I said earlier, they were hasty in making that pronouncement of returning. They should have also recommended to the governor. Let the governor be the one now to act on that, rather than them now dealing directly with the LCC people and say, go back and start your business. To me, that is a bit hasty.
Okay, why we link the protests yesterday to the decision of the Okuobi panel? It looks like there's another strand to it, because there was a statement by the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos. I believe that Engineer Adedeji Doherty, in which he raised a number of other related issues. One, about tolling. It looks like there are people in Lagos who do not even want that toll gate at that Lekki spot. And that this is all about the attempt by persons who claim that where they live in Lekki, they pay taxes, they are responsible citizens. If government has repaired the road, they should not be overburdened with the paying of tolls. That's one leg of it. There is also this argument, some people saying they need to know what exactly is the ownership of that Lekki toll gate. What is the content of the contract? What kind of contract is it? What is the bona fide of Lekki Concession Company? Do you think that, and who in fact is behind the Lekki Concession Company? They want full disclosure.
Exactly.
Do you think that these are relevant issues in this regard?
Yes, Dr. Ruben, clearly this is not part of the terms of reference for the panel. What the panel is asked to investigate is actually what took place on 20th of October, 2020 at that particular spot. Any other term that is clearly outside cannot be dealt with by this panel. If there are issues that people are raising concerning that toll gate, I think there are appropriate quarters where those should be addressed. Either that by going to court or going to the State House of Assembly or some other, appropriate quarter, but not in this panel. I agree. I passed through there last week, and Dr. Ruben, under 1 second, I passed there to Lekki Axis.
And I like the fact that
I didn't have to, no, not even paying, but the issue of there was no hold up. I said, I can pass here within a short time without all the hold up. What is 100, 300 naira and all that for some of us? But I felt that this is a great relief to those who are living in that environment. If you can, exit the place and come in without that hold up. And then the issue of payment, again, for those also, financially handy. So it is important that they address or direct their grievance to appropriate quarter. This issue cannot be addressed by this panel. Are you following me? I know there are grievances concerning that toll issue and all that. It's been lingering. And one of the allegations against the learned Sikh Ebu is that he is even a party, to the matter in court. And that he should have recused himself, when this matter came up and all that. That is the allegation against him and all that. So he knows how to probably handle that. But it's important we address those who are raising these issues now, that we cannot address those issues at this panel. There are appropriate quarters where they should take it to. The State House of Assembly, who owns LCC? Because what we're hearing now is that LCC is owned by Lagos State 100%. Is it true? Every person in Lagos should be able to find out that. You know why I find this very curious about handing over this toll gate to LCC and the promptness within which they want to now start rebuilding is that I passed through the court, the Boshere court, that also suffered the same casualty during the crisis. They are not rebuilding it. Nobody has started to rebuild that court. They are making arrangement to space, judges some other place, but nobody is rebuilding it. So if we're not hasty in rebuilding the court, why are we hasty in rebuilding this part? Is it because money is being generated? But is money not being generated at the judiciary? So I passed through there and I say, what is this hurry now in rebuilding the toll gate? And we're not in a hurry to rebuild, especially the judiciary that suffered the same fate. So that is my own observation. And I think that if we want to rebuild all of them, let's try and rebuild all of them at the same time. But I have said it earlier that the proper party that should have been directed, that particular recommendation should be directed to is the governor, who will now probably go ahead and say, okay, reopen or not. And not for the court, the panel, to deal with the parties directly, sir. Okay,
the 40 protesters that have been arrested and that are now on bail, they've been told by court that they have to go and take COVID-19 tests before the next adjournment date. But some of them have alleged that they were brutalized, they were dehumanized, and they were treated, they were even threatened. What remedies are available to them? Should they countersue the police?
Yes.
What advice will you?
Well, when you have your right as a citizen violated by any of the government agencies, the fundamental human rights enforcement rule has been enacted by the CJ and allows that individual to approach the court in order to seek remedy. And one of the remedies you seek is damages. You ask for damages to be paid. Now, if somebody has threatened you or has violated your right, like brutalizing you, that is why most of us, I have a case that is before that panel, which my own client was shot, and I have presented it now before that particular panel. And I got judgment in the Federal High Court against Nigerian police. Up to now, they have not paid. And that is why I'm also before the panel. So I think that any person whose right has been violated by that incident of yesterday, sir, has every right to seek remedy and relief, from any of the courts. It's guaranteed by the Constitution, and you have a right to do that. And then ask for damages. But it's important also you prove, because whoever alleges must prove. So you have that evidence, the video where, especially this macaroni of a guy, because it's obvious that he was, I don't know how they managed to have the video of where he was, shirtless inside the cell and all that. I also heard a lady that was also shouting inside the cell that they were all clustered and arrested in such a manner. Police also did not observe the protocol themselves. In arresting those individuals, they endanger the lives of those people. And so part of the relief they will ask is that their lives were threatened. Under the Constitution, your life is guaranteed, sir. So I think they have all that, to approach their lawyers and solicitors to seek for legal redress against Lagos State government, against Nigerian police force, and against any of the agencies that were involved in that arrest, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Monday Ubani, for helping us to shed light on what transpired yesterday at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos, and the role of the police and other stakeholders, and the rights of the individuals involved in that story. Thank you very much for joining us.
Dr. Ruben, it's my pleasure.